phone. Yep. I launched it, so it's going. We got 7 people so far. 10. What's up, guys? Can you guys hear the audio? Just making sure the audio is good. Awesome. Good. Had that problem a couple times before. Awesome. All right, guys. We'll wait until 12 exactly Eastern time, which is 6 p.m. my time, and then I'll start going more in depth. You guys can start asking questions if you want, though. I'll talk a bit about just kind of training habits when you're in quarantine. But I think the best way to use the live stream is to kind of have you guys ask questions and interact a lot. So I'll kind of base it a lot off of the questions you guys are asking. Anderson's hands are washed. Namaste. Oh, man. We're going to play that werewolf board game later tonight. Have you played that one? Like, it's like the werewolf game. It's like where like each person gets a card and you're like a you played Secret Hitler, right? Yeah, it's like that. Yeah. Tune B. John, any tips for studying instructionals right now? I just bought the Grappler's Guide, but it's almost too much to handle. Yeah, I think I always think in terms of positions. You probably heard me say a million times if you follow my content. So pick a topic you want to go deep on for a duration of time. So say it's collar sleeve, right? You're going to start, you get your partner, if you have like a one-on-one partner you can train with, and start doing a lot of specific sparring from collar sleeve. And that's like your kind of subject focus for a week or two, right? And then you can kind of take from all different content sources. So maybe there's a collar sleeve instructional by me. Maybe there's another one by Tommy Langaker. I know he filmed one with BJJ Fanatics recently, so you can get one from him. And you may grab from multiple different people, and then you kind of like test out the ideas and things, and you kind of develop your own mental map of how to do that position. But I think it's important to kind of immerse yourself in a position for a while. So let's say you're doing a mix of like regular training and specific training, then you can do your regular training, but then during your specific training time, try to make the majority of that focused on that position that you're trying to develop, and then pull from different instructionals. I think the thing is, like, if you're kind of picking 10 topics at one time, it's really hard to go deep, because even one position in jiu-jitsu is there's so many variables to consider. Like if you're in collar sleeve, it's like I could grab the collar high, I could grab it low, my right leg could be in the bicep, it could just be knee shielded, it could be on the hip, the left foot could be lassoed on the hip, De La Hiva hooked, key mastered past the body. There's so many variables to consider, so I think it's important to stay on one topic for a duration of time. What matches are you watching nowadays by King's SVR? I recently have been working on my passing a lot again. I had shoulder injury. A lot of you guys probably knew over the last like year I've been dealing with that. So it's been easier for me to play on bottom. So the last year has been a lot of guard development. Whereas before that, I was really into passing for a while. So now I'm kind of going back to passing. So in the last few days, it's been a lot of Toreando passing, like really Leandro Lowe style Toreando passing. as well as a lot of like Lucas Lepre influenced pressure passing, like killing the collar sleeve, killing the lasso, and that stuff's been really good. I think passing's certainly something that's like under appreciated in modern jiu-jitsu, because it doesn't matter how good your guard is. At the end of the day, like if you submit the guy from the guard, that's great, but if you sweep the guy, kind of the threat to your sweep is your passing. So if you don't have good passing and you sweep the guy, it doesn't really matter much, because after you sweep him, you're going to have to pass, and if you can't pass, he's going to sweep you back, and you get into that teeter-totter battle. And that's not really the most fun to watch as well, when you just see two guys kind of just teeter-tottering and not actually trying to pass. Just going to get your stretch in. Man, doing that resistance band for stretching has helped me so much. There's so many angles you can get on stretching that you normally can't. Have you tried that? No, like hanging it from the pull-up bar, because you can like put, like, normally if I want to stretch my hip flexor, you know, like you're kind of like here, and like, I don't know, you can only get so much. When you can put your foot like in the band like that, I have my like legs suspended in the air. It's just so much easier to get stretches in. Okay, Brian Vandergriff, how would you structure your training if you don't have a training partner? Excellent question. I'm going to wait a little bit to answer that one, because I know we're doing like the BJJ Summit, and I just want to make sure a lot more people are in, because it's going to be a really common question. So I'm going to wait to answer that till there's more people in. But excellent question, Brian. Is flexibility necessary in jiu-jitsu? I mean, flexibility is necessary in life, right? It just depends on how much flexibility is required, right? So every technique you do has a base flexibility requirement. Actually, I see the live stream starting to load up with people now. Just give me like a couple minutes. I want to let a few more people in before I start tackling that question, because I think it's such a common question. I just don't want to like answer that, and then 2 minutes later we have like 100 more people in the room and then they missed it. So just give it like a minute and we'll let a few more people load in. Yeah, man, we just picked up like 40 people in like a minute, so I think it'll pick up a lot. Having my coffee. Big fan of bands for stretching. Bands are so damn good for connective tissue health. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know it that deeply, but I mean, so far, just using the bands off of my pull-up bar, the angles I can get for stretching are so good. Like, normally it's hard to hit my hip flexor because I'm already pretty flexible, but when I can like suspend my leg in the air like that, I can get such deep stretches so easily. It's such a benefit. Etienne. Is this Etienne from France, who is at the camp in Ireland? I don't know how many Etiennes I have following me. Hey, John, how should I learn during quarantine? Usually I can watch an instructional, then try stuff at the gym, then go back to the instructional, find answers to problems I encountered. Hey, Joseph from Spain. Yeah, let's see. Hey, what's up? Yeah, it's Etienne from the camp in Sligo, and Latvia. Okay. So utilizing your time right now, man, I'll give it another minute, guys. I just want to wait until I go deep on this, because I see how many people are coming into the live feed right now. Etienne, do you have a person you can do one-on-one training with right now, or are you like in full lockdown, just you? Etienne, no full lockdown. Okay, so you don't have any partner. I'm really curious. I wish I could just take a quick poll and see how many of you guys have like no partner at all. Like, there's no one to train with, because it's such a different situation. Solo here. I think there's a lot of people who are solo training. Yeah, I guess that's like a luxury of Sweden, is that like nothing is on full lockdown. We're like the only place in the world. Yeah, for sure. It's very unsure. Let's see, it's 3 minutes past. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and start talking about it. Here, just my 5 and 7-year-old. You can get some training in with 5 and 7-year-olds. I've learned a lot of techniques by practicing with like kids and smaller people, actually. Jag. Oh, hey, what's up, Jag? Man, you have like the coolest name ever, Jag. Jaguar Tang. Awesome name. I feel like my name is so like John Thomas. Yeah, it's not cool, man. It's like it's very like, my middle name's Paul. John Paul Thomas. Solo, except for weekly online classes with your bro. Oh, awesome. Unless you have some home mats and family members who do BJJ, it's hard to train. I try to watch instructionals. Dad was a huge fan of the car. 3 first names. Yeah, I don't know. You can't trust someone with 2 first names. I don't know what that means about someone with 3 first names. Well, I guess if it's like a triple negative, then it should cancel. So do you have Discord for your channel followers? I just got the PC. Honestly, the reason I got the PC is so I could play this Valve Index VR bad boy. So that's why I got the PC, but like on a more responsible level, it's actually helped tremendously with like doing live streams and stuff. So I'm trying to figure all that out now. I have Discord. I've been using it to play Age of Empires with my friend, but if you do you have Discord for your channel followers? Yeah, if you have a good way for me to use it for my followers, I would totally be down to do that. So yeah, I'll go ahead and start talking about like solo training now a bit since we're like 5 past. So yeah, if you're training with like one partner, it's quite a bit different. Like the first thing I'm always thinking about is like efficiency. Okay, so what is the most efficient thing you can do when you're training when you don't have a partner to train with, right? I don't like, I know this is like probably not the answer most people want to hear. I don't like, if you're new, maybe, but if you've been training for a while, I don't think there's a lot you can really do with solo drills. Okay, as far as actually improving your jiu-jitsu performance when you're sparring. I know people don't want to hear that, but I feel like if you're newer, for sure, like learning how to invert and like doing shrimp drills and those kind of things can be really nice. But as far as like learning intricate systems, like for passing the collar sleeve and things like that, doing solo drills is not going to do you much good. I just don't think it's that useful of an effort. Like if you find enjoyment out of it and you have fun doing it, then by all means do it. But I don't think it's a meaningful way to make progress. I think if you're locked in complete isolation, yeah, sorry, yeah, I'm telling it like it is. If you're locked in complete isolation, you have no partner. Honestly, the best thing you can do is really work on your strength and your flexibility. If you wanted to do some kind of grappling focus, if you guys listen to my conversation with Margot from Unity, I think shadow grappling would actually be a better thing to do than doing solo drills. And in that sense, what I would do is like try to visualize a match you're having. Of course, you're going to be somewhat limited by the actual technical level you have. So for example, if you understand the spider guard really well, then I could actually be on top and imagine like shadow grappling, like you see people shadow box, right? I could imagine like, okay, I'm passing, he broke the grip past the body, I throw. I can visualize that. But if there's a position that you don't know anything about, it's really hard to visualize it, right? So I think if you want to kind of like keep the skill sets that you currently have in your game or keep them fresh, shadow grappling could actually be a really useful way to do that. Try to visualize a match, try to visualize positions. Okay, he does this, I'm going to go here, now he pummels and things like that. I think maybe even watching a competition match and then trying to visualize, like it takes a lot of mental effort, but try to visualize the first person perspective of that match. So imagine like you watch the guy, he's here, you try to visualize doing it. I think you could get more out of visualization and mimicking like competition matches than you could solo drills itself. Outside of that, do grappling dummies help or waste? People are going to hate me, but I don't think they help much. I'm sorry. Just no country for told men. I'm just being honest here. I just think like, I mean, again, it depends on your level. If you're brand new and you've never done like an armbar from mount, sure. I think a grappling dummy, you can practice going to the armbar and do it. That's good. That's cool. I think that's good. But if you've been training for 2 or 3 years, I just don't think the grappling dummy is going to help. Like so much jiu-jitsu is like understanding like, okay, he's lassoing. Now I got to do this. Now it's an interactive thing, right? Even if I'm drilling with a physical partner and they don't resist, I find I don't get much use out of it. I need the responses. So you trying to visualize in a shadow grappling format is way more useful than like just doing mindless or like kind of empty resistance drills. You trying to visualize what would my opponent be doing and that kind of stuff, I think is going to be way more beneficial. Okay, so I know that may be disheartening to some of you guys, but I'm, like on the flip side, I think there's a positive side out of this. Is I think focusing on your strength and flexibility is what you should do. Okay. And that being said, I'm like the biggest proponent of technique being really important. Anyone you'll meet, I think technique is super important. But in this time period, the question is, what is the most efficient thing you can do? To get, if you know much about strength training, right? Like a big aspect of strength training is recovery. So if you do heavy lifting or you do gymnastics training, the part where you gain the most is when you recover. But if you're doing high volume jujitsu, it's really hard to recover, right? So this time period, if you have 2 months where you can't really train jujitsu at all, that's the best time you could ever have to strength train. And the cool thing to think about it is it's not just lost time. Like even if you were training jujitsu full time, it might even be worth it to you to just take a month or two off to focus purely on strength and mobility, right? Without any jujitsu to distract you, without any extra burden on your body, you can purely do strength and get really strong and really flexible. That's the best thing I think you could do right now if you don't have anything else. So if you want to grapple, shadow grappling. Other than that, I would say focus on strength and flexibility. For strength recommendations, I like a lot of Gymnastics Bodies is a book you can get. There's another one. It's Overcoming Gravity. Those are both recommended by a bodyweight training on Reddit. They're really good. And then for weightlifting, I think like 5x5, Mark Ripto, that stuff's really good. But like strength, right? And for flexibility, Gold Medal Bodies, GMB Fitness is really good. Yoga for BJJ, I know they have good stretching stuff. Stretching and flexibility like Kit Laughlin, those are all good recommendations. But really get into that, set up a program, set some personal goals, and try to achieve those goals. If you end this 2-month quarantine being way more flexible than when you started and way stronger than when you started, you'll go back to the gym. If you do a little bit of shadow grappling, you keep what you have in your head, you'll come back, be way stronger, way more flexible, and ready to improve. And it's something that you could almost see it as not even lost time because you couldn't have done that while training a lot of jiu-jitsu. So I think it's the best way to use your time. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to take some other questions now. Guys, feel free to ask any question you want. It can be, conceptual if it's about training, making use of the quarantine time. If you guys have technical questions, feel free to shoot away, and I'm just going to take questions from the field now. Okay. Okay, let's see what we got here. Kettlebells, bands, and stretching is the way to go. Would you agree? Yeah, I like bands a lot. I have a band hanging from my pull-up bar. You can't see it. It's in the other room. It helps a lot with stretching because I can keep my foot in the air and get way deeper stretches and stuff. So I really like bands, especially for body weight training. Like you can do like one-arm pull-up progressions and all that stuff's great. Agreed. It's a great. Is running helpful for BJJ fitness? I would say right now, yeah. I think if you can train jiu-jitsu full time, I think for cardio, I've gone through phases where I really like running. For cardio, I think jiu-jitsu is the best thing you can do. But of course, if you can't train jiu-jitsu, then running is a great alternative. So yeah, I totally suggest running. At least 2 or 3 times a week, an aerobic long distance run, maybe once or twice a week, some kind of higher anaerobic workout. So yeah, I think running is great. But of course, an hour and a half jiu-jitsu session is always better than running for your cardio for jiu-jitsu. What stretches are most useful for BJJ? Good question. If I had to pick like the top 3 or 4, I would say the butterfly stretch. Do the butterfly stretch? Yeah. Butterfly. Do you guys have sound now? Do you guys have sound now? Man, what a pain. It's back. Okay, yeah, it's good. We're good. We're good. Okay, I don't know. I think it just auto turns off every now and then. That's an annoying feature. Yeah, so I think if you're trying to do like the butterfly stretch and you're not flexible enough, I think doing it like he's doing right now is a really good option. I think piriformis stretch. Can you show like a piriformis stretch? You know, like the pigeon stretch. Yeah, I'll do it real quick. Apparently, every time I go over here, we lose sound. You know, like this one here, and just sinking into it like that, I think is good. That's another really good one. Hamstrings, I like a lot of mobility. I picked this up from GMB Fitness, but focusing a lot on like these kind of like bear walks where you keep your arms and legs straight and you walk like this. I would really look up GMB Fitness. They have a lot of good stuff on that. So hamstrings, piriformis, and then butterfly stretch. And probably the splits and like leaning forward are really good as well. One conceptual thing I think that helped me a lot with stretching is don't overdo it, right? A lot of times you resist stretching because you see it as this like I'm going to stretch and it's going to be really uncomfortable kind of thing. But if you ease into it, like it's going to be a really relaxing stretch, like which is really relaxing. It's very easy to ease into it and then you naturally escalate. So try to make it not something that you don't look forward to because it's so miserable, but ease into it. Hi, in competition, I got burned so quickly at the first match. Bad warning, stress. I warmed till I was exhausted. Any recommendations? Okay, so Duke, I think, is asking about like proper warm up. I think a warm up for a competition that you should focus on is I like to just do sprints and a really good stretch routine. So I do try to burn my cardio out. I really try to gas out. I think a lot of people when they warm up, they kind of do like like this and like a couple jumping jacks and that's it. Like the way you feel after your first match, I want to feel like that during my warm up, right? Because you're gonna be like like out of breath, but then when you fully recover from it, which may take 5-10 minutes, then you recover. Then it's like you got that adrenaline dump out of the way, then I feel good. Then after that, I keep warm, just doing light runs and stretching and stuff. But that's the big thing. I do a hard warm up, but give myself enough time to recover and do a big flexibility routine. Get all my muscles loose. I think you get really tense before you compete, and doing all that stretching really makes a big difference. Okay. Can you talk about bridging the gap between passing the legs and pinning your opponent? So how to not lose a guard pass late? Like how are you using your hips or breaking frames? So like with everything I do in jiu-jitsu, it's always dependent on the position, right? A lot of people are looking for kind of broad generalizations that's always going to explain your problems, but every position is like hyper dependent, right? So for example, if I was in like De La Hiva, right? Go to De La Hiva, but I just be right here. Okay, if I'm here in De La Hiva and he's grabbing my cross collar, right? So then the idea of like, for example, some of you guys have seen this kind of a pass where I drop to this side is really hard to do because he can stiff arm my neck. Okay, so then as I go in here, I can't go because he's going to stiff arm my neck away, right? So when I'm here, I might be trying to trap this leg and go for a knee cut. But often when I go for the knee cut, the guy goes for the sleeve. So if he goes for the sleeve and he tries to break this grip, start breaking it, as he kicks to break the grip, he's wide open for this and I can club and pass. Okay, so there's not like a quick answer that's always going to answer your question about frames, but the big thing to understand is that if you break jiu-jitsu down by position, you're going to learn each position so that you know where those openings will be. Don't look for these broad principles that connect everything together because they're often not there, right? Like I know everyone likes that and they think it's like more of like a physics way to do it, but actually I have a degree in mathematics and I took a ton of physics and engineering classes as well. It's just very hard to apply like physics thinking to jiu-jitsu, right? It's easier to think on a case-by-case scenario. You may notice like macro trends on a whole level where, you know, like as you learn how to kill De La Hiva, Spider, and stuff, you may learn patterns, but there's always all sorts of weird little like factors and positions that are hard to account for. Like the position that's the most in base could get you ankle locked if you're in De La Hiva because he does a Kyotera ankle lock. The position that's like the best for defending a submission may get you knocked over, right? Or there may be a good position for defending the submission and defending the sweep, but then like he's got your lapel wrapped around your leg twice and you can't get out of it. So just try to break things down by position, and then it'll help guide you on how to get around each of those things individually, if that makes sense. Cool. Let's see here. Any recommendation on getting into cross guard? No problem, Iron Republic. Any recommendation on getting into cross guard? How do you actively try to invert once you have the cross sleeve grip? I get stacked sometimes. Okay. Let me think. Getting into cross guard. I mean, my favorite way to get into cross guard is either from the lasso or from close guard. So go up real quick, bud. So if I'm in a lasso here, like this, and I'm looking for double sleeves, turn this way just a hair, right? So when I have a lasso, this is often one of my first start grips, right? I'm here like this, he's looking for this. If he gives me this, I'm gonna go double sleeve and go here, right? But let's say he's hiding this, okay? I could go cross sleeve here, right? And now if I see this elbow knee gap open, if I unlasso, I wanna get inside that gap. From here, I can underhook, and now I'm in clear. This is one of my favorite setups, right? Another one I could do is turn on the other side here. Keep going that way. Yeah, there we go. Good. Okay, another one is like, let's say that elbow knee is tight on this side. I could be here like this. If he grabs here, I can break past the body. Now I'm inside that elbow knee gap already. I switch to the cross sleeve here, underhook, and again, I'm inside that elbow knee space. But the idea is once my leg is inside that elbow knee space, it's really hard for him to get it back. Even if he sucks his elbow tight, I'm always stuck inside that space. So when I'm here, you can't play cross guard. If my leg gets caught out like this, get your elbow knee tight. Right. See, now I can't play cross guard, not in the same way. Now I have to play more like De La Hiva and stuff. But if he ever opens this gap up, then my leg can shoot in and I can go here. Right. Another way to get to cross guard is always just go to close guard. Sorry. Yeah. Is if I'm just in close guard like this and the guy postures up or whatever, go ahead and posture up. Stand up. Yeah. Like this. I can always get cross sleeve. Usually this is open. And now I'm already in the cross guard. Cool. Cool. Blade. Hi, John. How are you? I'm from Brazil. I like to know the best exercise to touch the foot when you roll back. I'm not sure I understand that question. Could you elaborate a little bit more? Or you can write in Portuguese too, because Anderson will understand. Let's see if we have any questions from before. Is it a good use of quarantine time to watch mini instructionals about positions I know little about, even though I won't retain the info as much since I can't spar? Should I go for breadth or depth? Very good question, Etienne. I think like going super in depth would be, I think, hard. I think breadth in this case, right? I think going unless you have like a one-on-one partner, right? There's like two different kinds of quarantines. You could be quarantined with no one, right? And then you could be quarantined with like one person. With one person, you can get a lot done, right? But if you don't have anyone, then that's different, right? I would say if you have no one, you can't do anything. I think going for width is better than deep because you're not like some of those micro details, like, oh, his knee's this way, that's difficult. But like if you have no idea what reverse De La Hiva is, for example, then just watching an instructional on reverse De La Hiva, watching a highlight reel of what reverse De La Hiva is, you're at least expanding your awareness of like, oh, that's a thing. The guy can invert, and you're learning the general idea. So in that sense, actually, I never thought of that. That's a great idea. I think it would be better use of your time if you're watching video to try to go through, understand at least what all the positions are. Understand what reverse De La Hiva is, understand what like worm guard is. So go really wide in general, get an overview of what's the folding pass, what's a Toriando, what's an X pass, like understand broadly all those things so that when you come back, you at least have a broader overview of things. That's an excellent idea. I didn't really think about it like that. I think that's a great use of time. Let's see here. Anderson, you can read Blade's Portuguese question. Hey, John, can I react to stop my partner from passing when I'm in knee shield half guard and he stands up and pinched my leg in between his knees? He then uses that to start knee cutting or passing. Christian, it depends. Like there's a lot of positions in Jiu-Jitsu where there's no right thing to do per se. It depends on the positions you play. Right. So what I mean is like, I can't watch, if you guys know who like Bernardo Faria is, right? I can't watch Bernardo Faria roll and tell him, oh, right there, you should have lassoed, you know, because it's not what he does. He does a deep half guard and like he has like his whole thing, right? So a lot of times in a position, what you should do is dependent on the guards you play. So if I'm in a knee shield, because I like to do open guard, I'm always looking to get my bottom leg out, right? I'll show you real quick, and then we can answer Blade. Wesley Snipes, right? So let's go, we'll be here, right? Let's see, be right here, right? So like if I'm in a knee shield here, like this, and the guy's like trying to center me up to like knee cut, like start centering this way and stuff, I'm always trying to get this leg back out, right? So I'm keeping my knee above my arm, because when I'm here, he can start cutting down, it gets worse, like this, right? Go back up. So like I'm like this, you start knee cutting in first, right? And whenever he starts centering, I'm going to try to bring this leg out by pushing on this leg and get it out past the body. Once I get it out past the body, if I can get a hold of this sleeve, which is usually there because they're trying to grab your leg or something, now he can't push this leg back down, right? And then from here, I can use this knee shield to like break the grip. I can start going here, chasing triangles. This could turn back into De La Hiva, and all these things are kind of open. But I have more of an open guard style game. A lot of the things I like. I could be here like this, go back into the knee cut there, right? Like this, and then as he like tries to center up or whatever, like go ahead and center up, I could try to come up and go to this single leg grip at the lapel here, and then start building this way, right? And I could cut this way. So it just depends on the kind of game you like to play. Right, that's the biggest takeaway in general, is like everything is specific. It just depends on the positions you like to play. Most of your training time should be spent in developing your knowledge of positions in general. And as you understand a lot of positions, then you have more options to choose from in any situation you're in. Huh? Oh, Blade's question. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. So, okay, I'll explain that question to everyone. So Blade's question was, he's not a flexible guy, right? So his issue is that when guys stack him, right, he gets put up here, he doesn't have the flexibility to deal with it, right? So, yeah, to touch his feet on the floor, right? So of course you could really work on your flexibility. But some people, maybe let's say you had neck issues, right? And you just, no matter how much you work your stretching, you can't get that. I would say then you need, the burden is more on your grip fighting, right? You don't want to like be in a position where you have your feet up high like this, because if the guy gets his hands under the ankles, he's going to stack you. So when I'm here, I'm going to be on my side. It's really hard for someone to stack you when you're on your side. So I would say when you're in open guard in general, play on your side like this, and any chance you get, frame and try to sit up and work on your grip fighting from here. But if you get caught on your back here and they start pressing to stack you, you're going to have to roll through really quick and try to go to like a double leg type kind of recomposing position, because you're not going to be able to, your neck won't be able to handle that stacking pressure. Yeah, for sure. That's very common. Yeah, I don't even think you should, like, I think preemptively, so like beforehand, you want to try to keep your feet low or be on your side so it doesn't happen in the first place. If he starts getting you up, then at that point, you need to roll through back and try to come back into a double leg and save the position. Because once he gets you on your neck, it's going to be really hard. Let's see. Oh man, we got a lot of questions here now. Do you mainly require your students to start from standing? Your thoughts on this? Yeah, I think when they can, it's good they start on training or start standing. Maybe I should just talk a little about how I just go about like developing someone in general. So there's two aspects of jiu-jitsu, right? There's like micro and macro, okay? Macro is like a full jiu-jitsu match. So we start standing, no grips, and we're both trying to submit each other. That's like a macro, that's like the full jiu-jitsu, right? Micro is your skill set in individual positions, right? So let's say a triangle choke. Okay, if you start in a triangle choke, you could make an entire sport out of that, right? Like the sport is, you start in a triangle choke, you have to make them tap, they have to escape. That's an entire sport. It would be boring, but that could be a sport. Okay, so you could be really good at that, but then terrible at escaping mount. They have nothing in common, right? So the majority of the training I try to put my students through is in micro development, okay? Because the positions you know is going to define how you fight in its totality. Okay, so if I don't know how to finish a triangle choke, if that's not in my micro skill set, but I have to have a tournament today, like I'm going to fight right now, I'm having a tournament, we're competing, and I don't know how to do a triangle choke, but I have a good arm bar. Well, in that sense, that's going to change the strategy I choose to implement. It's going to affect my macro jiu-jitsu because those are the positions I know. So I may not play spider guard because a lot of spider guard positions are based off of doing a triangle choke. But if I can't do a triangle choke, then it's not going to be a super useful position for me, right? So with my students, I try to isolate everything. So like some trainings, I'll have them where I just want to test where they're at. I'll have them both start standing and just spar with each other, and we just see how it goes. So then if they spar and then like what they're fighting, one person gets taken down, they go to their guard, they get spider guard, they get passed. Then they know from that match, oh, okay, they when they're in spider guard, they can't hold the position. So then their micro training after that will be doing 30 minutes of starting in spider guard until they figure out the detail mistake they're making to fix that problem, right? So the macro will kind of guide you on what's wrong in your game, like on a general level. You'll find, oh, I have a problem here, I have a problem here. But the micro training starting in positions is what's actually going to fix the problem within that position, and you need both. So I say the majority of training should be micro. It should be spending time in individual positions trying to fix your specific problems in those positions, right? The macro, like regular rolls, are useful to push your cardio, push your intensity, and identify where you need to work on things on a micro level, if that makes sense. Let's see here. What are the best ways to attack the turtle from the front headlock? Preferably including guillotine. Honestly, Black Betty's asking what's the best way to attack the turtle from a front headlock. I feel like that's not one of my like high skill sets. Usually I just try to spin to the back there, and if I can't get the back, then I just try to pass. So I don't feel like I'm the best person for that question. What are your favorite takedowns for a small person to do? I think a good collar drag is probably the easiest takedown for anyone to do. It's like if you saw Yuri Simões fought Travis Stevens, and Travis Stevens like is a silver medalist in the Olympics in judo, and Yuri Simões took him down with a collar drag. It doesn't require a ton of skill. It's really quick to do. I'll show it real quick. I'll try it on with the headset. So stand up. The general principle with a collar drag is I try to do it to stand like a neutral stance, like both legs square, right? Like this. So I try to do it really quick before they have established a grip, right? So if I let the guy fully like judo establish, like get like this, and he can stiff arm and stuff, it's really hard, right? But if we're here like this and we're doing this, and I can catch this really quick from here before he makes a grip, right? So I just catch this really fast here. What I focus on is going forward, right? It's like I want to land in a single leg. So the position I want to get in here, try to see how this goes. Okay, is I want to land and end up kind of in this like single leg position here. When I actually do it, I'm going to try to clip his foot with my right foot. But the main thing is I want to land forward. One of the biggest, I don't want to say mistakes, but differences I do with a collar drag versus a lot of people stand up is a lot of people when they do a collar drag, they're kind of more like falling back like this, trying to rip the guy that way. And then if you don't get it, it's hard to come up. I try to land really forward so that even if I don't hit it initially, it's really easy to come up on the single leg takedown, right? So if I'm here like this, right, and I catch here, I'm going to try to clip this foot. So if you notice, stand this a little bit, yeah. If you notice when I go, see how he steps forward there like that? I'm going to try to clip his foot, go up, real quick. I'm going to try to clip his foot so it's hard to make that step. That sometimes will face plant them, but at a minimum will off balance him that way so that as I hit, I'm here and now like I drive with my forehead into his rib cage, I press the collar away, and it's really easy to come up. And I go from there. I would say that's one of the absolute easiest takedowns to work. It's just that basic collar drag to single leg. Let's see here. Pick a good one. What are your thoughts on how gyms should open up post-COVID? Oh man, that's a toxic question. I think it really depends on the country and the situation they're in. Not all the countries are the same. People have had very different experiences. They handled it differently. It's a different spread level, and it's certainly out of my expertise. I'm a Jiu-Jitsu math guy, definitely not an infectious disease expert. So I'll trust the experts on that one. Let's see here. Ooh, that's a good question. What are your thoughts on belt promotion? How do you do it? So it's very much like the main criteria I'm thinking about when I'm promoting someone is like, let's see, they're all it depends on the person, but I would say competency in sparring matters a lot, right? Like you have to be able to do things in sparring when it matters. Okay. Um, Understanding of technique, right? Not just like maybe someone's like really gritty and super strong and explosive, but if they can't actually understand the technique, that certainly affects my judgment. This is a personal judgment. It's not like the official standard. It's just personal judgment. So I would say competency in sparring, like actually being able to perform well in sparring, your understanding level of the technique, your willingness to help others and be like a part of the team and help out matters a lot as well as like the effort you're putting in. I think all four of those matters a lot. I would say one of the biggest differences with me, maybe than a lot of coaches, I put a ton of emphasis on performance and sparring, right? Because even though what we're doing is not really like self-defense anymore, obviously when you're doing like reverse Dale worm or spider guard, it's not really like for actual fighting anymore per se. But there's this element of jiu-jitsu that separates it from a lot of other martial arts, which is the stuff has to work. So to me, even if someone can demo all the techniques well and like a perfect demo and stuff, if you can't do the stuff in sparring when it matters, I feel like that you haven't completed the journey completely. Like you have to be able to perform these things in sparring. Granted, like if someone's like 70 and they've been, like it's different if they're fighting someone who's 20, but it still matters to me. So I weigh that in, like your performance and physical shape and stuff. But I certainly don't believe people should be getting promoted who've done all the technique, drilled everything, but they can't perform in sparring because it's part of it. Like you're kind of like selling a false hope. I don't ever want to like, from a self-defense perspective, tell someone they're prepared and then when they fight, they're not. Like the worst feeling in the world is for someone to go to another gym with like a brown belt and get beat up by blue belts. That's really not a good experience. So I think that really forces people to understand it. Even if I lose students for that, I'm okay with it, right? Because it's very important to me that reality of the real world of like this has to work matters to the students because it drives the necessary questions of like, why isn't this working? You could say, well, the guy's stronger, but other people who are small can do it on strong people. So you really need to go deep and like really figure out why these things work and don't work. And that's my obsession. Like when I'm training and I show you guys techniques on YouTube, like I only show things that I can actually use in sparring and actually work. I know for sure they work because I use them. And when I see other competitors do things and I'm trying to figure it out and I can't do it yet in sparring, then like I feel like I don't know it until I can actually do it in sparring because I'm missing the necessary details that are required to make it work. John, do you believe collar sleeve is a good position for aggressive players? Absolutely. Collar sleeve is like one of the most aggressive guards I think there is. If you stay just within collar sleeve, you can attack like the omoplatas, the triangles, barambolos. You can switch underneath the ankle locks. It's a very submission heavy position. But also if you transition out of it, it's such a great segue to so many other guards. You can switch to double sleeve from it. You can switch to collar ankle and go for barambolos or bump to X guard. So yeah, I think it's a hyper aggressive position. I think it's one of the foundational guards everyone should know. I think the four like foundational open guards people should understand for like open guard is I base it off of what the hands are doing. So the left hand, because most people right leg lead, is on the sleeve, then it's collar sleeve or double sleeve, meaning this sleeve and this sleeve. So that's like spider guard or leg pass body. So double sleeve, collar sleeve. And the other one is the left hand on the ankle, and then it's collar ankle and ankle far sleeve. Those are the four foundational open guards in my head. If you have an understanding of those, you're very good, especially if you can play it on both sides. Then you have an answer for almost every possible stance or position the person can come at you with. Right, let's take a question from someone else. Tips for a 4-stripe blue belt. So I think first off, I don't think there is a tip for a 4-stripe blue belt, but I think that question is a good question because it drives a deeper question, which is Jiu-Jitsu is different for everyone. So like there is no universal standard of a 4-stripe blue belt. You're a 4-stripe blue belt maybe, but you could have no guard game and only passing, or you could have really good guard and absolutely no passing, or maybe you have a good triangle choke but you don't know how to finish an armbar. So there cannot be an answer for what is the most important thing for a 4-stripe blue belt. To me, like the belt is irrelevant. right? Of course, like when you compete, it kind of represents what you've done in competition, but realistically, it's just jujitsu. If you got rid of the belt, then it's just the knowledge you have. The number one advice I gave everyone is seek to understand, not to improve. If you just seek understanding and being able to do things and understand them and perform them in sparring, you will by default become better, right? But everyone's always concerned with performing well overall. If you just obsess with learning, you'll naturally achieve that, right? But it's a difference, because if you're always measuring your improvement and like how you spar with your peers every day, you have these cycles of ups and downs and disappointments. Whereas when you're just trying to understand, every day you always understand a little more, and you always have a sustainable path of excitement for your progress, and it drives you to want to learn. That's the model that worked for me. Ooh, Tio retracted his message. Must have been too controversial. What is your thought process when you study a new technique or watch fights? A good question. This is from the Collective 902. Your thought process when you're trying to develop a new technique or watch fights. It's a mix of like engineering logic and trying to be very creative and open-minded. Because like, first off, I don't study techniques per se. I study positions, because you have to understand every technique comes from a positional subset. So like if you're trying to understand how do I do the omoplata, okay, from collar sleeve even, right? So omoplata from collar sleeve. If you get too one track minded, like, okay, I'm working on my collar sleeve omoplata, I'm going to go train with Anderson here, I'm going to try to omoplata him, right? Well, even if like he's a blue belt and I'm a black belt, so in theory I'm supposed to be better and be able to beat him and everything. If we go to collar sleeve, go up. And like I see like Tommy Lanker's omoplataing everyone. Granted, it would be on the other side because he always plays on this side, right? Like if I'm here and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna roll with Anderson, I'm gonna omoplata him 20 times, right? And we start the match and he pulls his elbow to his hips super tight, and I'm like, ugh, like, and I just keep trying to force this. I can't get it. It's not actually there. So I need to understand, okay, I'm playing collar sleeve. In this positioning, what is available? Right? Okay, well, if his elbow and knee is tight, usually the hook is strong. So maybe I pull here, I do this little adjustment, and I start trying to take him backwards. But now I can't take him backwards. So then I off balance him forwards, and that opens up this setup to a really nice berimbolo or crab ride, right? So you need to think in terms of positions. So when I'm trying to develop a new position, then I kind of find a good competitor in that position who uses that position all the time. And I see the techniques they're using, and I try to understand the patterns of how the person is responding. So if I have a partner, I'll spar with my partner, and then I'll take notes after sparring, what positions were giving me a hard time. That cues my brain to think about it. Then when I watch sparring footage of that person I'm studying, I look for times that they're in that position that person is in. Right. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I know this was giving me a hard time. My brain is like really thinking about that. Like my RAS, like reticular activation system, is like focused on that. So then when I'm watching competition video, I'll cue in on that more commonly. Does that make sense? Right. Whereas like if I didn't spar in the position, I was just watching competition video, I may not even notice something as a big detail. But as soon as I have that problem of him keeping his elbow and knee tight, I'm going to be like, man, next time I watch Tommy, I'm going to see what he does when the guy has his elbow and knee tight. Right. And then go, oh, okay, that's what he did. Now I'm going to try that with Anderson next time. I try it and then it works. And then he evolves and tries something different. And then it's this back and forth thing. So you can't really just watch. You have to watch and test with a partner and kind of do back and forth. Right. Now, that being said, that's more of like the logic engineering mind. Right. And that's really important. You have to have this like rigorous solving thing, but you also need to be open-minded. Like sometimes you could be in a position and the answer is something really complex. Like maybe at that point in the position, there is nothing you can do and you need a transition position, right? And then that's like, whoa, like maybe like you can't play the position and you have to. So, and then sometimes it's like to make big breakthroughs. The book Make It Stick talks about this a bit, like mixing up the topics you're working on. I like to work on a particular topic, but I always mix in different things every night. Like maybe I'll do like 30 minutes of sparring and collar sleeve, and then I'll do like 20 minutes passing collar sleeve or 20 minutes passing spider guard. And sometimes really weird things connect that you don't expect at all, right? Like one big breakthrough I had was working on passing collar sleeve made me evolve my collar sleeve a lot. Because one of the big things, if you notice, like when Tommy plays collar sleeve, he uses that knee shield all the time, right? So go up. So I was trying to understand better, like how to do the collar sleeve like Tommy does. We'll All right, you guys hear me? Audio is good? Just want to make sure the audio is good because I heard it beep. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems to auto turn off sometimes. No one's responding. Is it going? Yeah, it's good. It's good. Okay, cool. We're good. All right, so be on this side. We're going to play like Tommy. Okay. So, for example, right? We're going to say we're playing collar sleeve on this side, right? So generally, if you guys have seen my Grappler's Guide content, I'm always talking about keeping this foot in the bicep if I'm on collar sleeve, right? So one thing I noticed is like Tommy a lot of times will knee shield like this, right? And then I was like, kind of like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? But then like when you use this knee shield, I can kind of adjust and come around here and start attacking, right? But I didn't understand the power of that knee shield until I started working like more Lucas Lepre passing. Good. And then I was playing here, just go collar sleeve on this side. Yeah, and then collar sleeve, and you can lasso. Right. So one thing that Lucas does is have this foot in the bicep, but kind of have your knee back. Is like when Lucas can't loop this because the guy's keeping back, he grabs this lapel and frames this thigh open, right? And then what I noticed, try to knee shield here. Like knee shield, yeah. It's like he kind of he prevents this knee shield with this, right? And I actually discovered the power of that knee shield by working the collar sleeve passing, right? So it was non-intentional. It wasn't, I was like trying to figure out all this Tommy Langerker collar sleeve stuff. And I was like trying to come up with all these theories. I was so focused on it, I just couldn't make that breakthrough. And then I was like, I'm just going to work on the pre-passing. Fuck it. Right. I start working on the pre-passing. And then all of a sudden this accidental big breakthrough happened that opened up all this other stuff. Right. And I think that you need that mix of creativity and kind of a rigorous engineering mind. If you're too creative, then you don't like every day, it's like something different and you're kind of wishy-washy. You can't define anything, right? You need to have like this like testing and critical thinking, and you need that, but you also sometimes need that openness, right? So I try to make a point of, I don't always train the same way. Like one day it'll be a lot of specific training in one position, and another day it may be more loose. Another day, actually, this would be a really worthwhile talk about like different modalities of training, which is a lot of people's only format of training is just hard sparring, right? They just come in and it's like 6-8 minute rounds, go hard as fuck, right? That's their only mode of training. But I find that having a clear intent, what is the purpose of this training session, helps a lot with clarity of what you're doing. Is the purpose of my training session to get stronger? Is it to develop better cardio? Is it to assess my flaws? Is it to discover new ideas? What is the purpose of this training session? If you make a clear intent beforehand, it changes how you train. Because let's say I wanted to push my cardio, okay? If I wanted to push my cardio, then would treating every match like it's a tournament match, would that push my cardio? You would think that it would, but in actuality, if it's a tournament match, if I like just swept the guy and then I'm in like a good knee cut position, I have strong control, and there's like 2 minutes left. Am I going to over rush passing, or am I going to go, okay, I'm up 2 points, I have a good position, I'm going to wait a second and take my time to get this pass? That's exactly what I'm going to do. And that's a smart thing to do. You should take your time, right? But that's not pushing your cardio. Pushing your cardio would be moving the whole time. So like running stairs or just having rolls where you just go crazy moving the whole time. That's a different purpose, right? So by clearly defining what you're doing. So if I'm trying to innovate and try new ideas in my rolls, is treating this match like it's a tournament match good? No, because I'm not going to take risks. If I'm in a tournament and it's like the finals of worlds and my career is going to be affected by this big decision, am I going to go, this is an interesting grip, let's fuck with this and see what happens? Oh, I got armbarred. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what I know. Right. So by doing rolls or training sessions where I understand the intent is to explore, I may train with my partner. I may go with Anderson and I'll go, okay, I'm going to play collar sleeve and I'm going to try to sweep or submit. You try to pass. If something is hard, I'm going to tell you to stop, freeze, go back, go slow motion. And I'm kind of like giving him commands to adjust what he's doing so that I can actually understand. Right, or submit him. Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to understand better. So sometimes when something happens, you ever have a time when you're rolling where someone does something and you're like, you don't even know what happened, but then you have to just keep going so you can't figure it out. It's nice when you're rolling sometimes, if you have 2 hours to train, to go like, oh, what happened there? Stop. Can you go back real quick? Rewind. Okay, go again. Go slow motion. Okay, this is what's happening. Let me grab here. And then you allow your brain to figure out what's going on. And then you go through hard again and you keep readjusting like that until you fix the problem, right? Now, that doesn't mean every session should be that way. You should also have sessions where you go hard as fuck, right? And then you see how you would do when it really matters. So have a clear definition of what you're doing with your training before you do it so you understand the purpose, if that makes sense. I think especially in this time, that kind of training is really important if you have one partner. It's hard to do really fucking hard rounds at the house. But if you do that, you can really make a lot of progress. Okay? Kind of a broad question or broad concept, but hopefully you guys get something from it. Could you show a bit more how you would play that side position open guard, how to get first grips, which guards you would look for? So Magnus Eriksson. Yeah, it depends on what you're playing. You're talking about like when you're Magnus, you're talking about like when you're on a side tilt before grips. Actually, I can read over there. So okay, so you'll be right here, bud. Okay. How do you play that side position? Yeah. So the side position I think Magnus is talking about would be like grip fighting. So back up just a little bit. Like when before grips are established and I'm on my back, I'm not sitting up. There's different ways to position yourself. So a lot of people will do this. I do this a lot of times too, where I like kind of being like this and I keep my feet moving. I'm looking for an initial grip, which if he backs up a lot, going back up, then I'll sit up and I'll start grip fighting from here sitting up, right? But if the guy's kind of close to me, he's so close, it's hard to just sit up without exposing a grip. So here I'm more tight with my knees and I'm moving my legs a lot. So as he's trying to make a grip or something, I'm kind of deflecting his hands, kind of like this like Wing Chun sticky hands thing, until I get a sleeve and now I can lasso, collar sleeve, cross sleeve, double sleeve, all this opens. If he's kind of keeping his hands away, but he's standing close, then I might grab his ankle and now I can start building off of a daily heave again. Okay, if you do this knee shield style here, there's pros and cons to it. With here, I'm kind of protecting this, and I like to get this cross collar grip. And then what I'm going to look to do is if I can get this sleeve, it's great. If he won't give me this sleeve, I'm going to shoot it past the body here and grab the pant leg. Okay, from here, this turns into like keymaster stuff, so I can start kind of pulling and dipping under here, pull them forward. This can turn into matrices. This can start turning into like ankle lock setups here. I can start knocking him back there and go for ankle locks, right? Often what will happen is if I'm like this and I get this collar grip and he's hiding this hand, is when I start going in here like this, he's going to start trying to push this leg down. When he does that, I get the sleeve break quick, and now I'm back here. And now I'm centering up and starting to play collar sleeve. So that kind of like attacking the far sleeve. That's kind of how Tommy Langaker plays a lot. Let's see here. Let's take a question from someone different. Okay, can you elaborate the Tommy's knee shield thing a bit, please? Yeah, like, are you Bunny Asworth? Are you talking about when you're in collar sleeve, or are you talking about before you're in collar sleeve? Because it's a bit different. MM asks, how often do you press with your hips on top? It just depends on the position. Honestly, I guess if I was just going to give a general answer, not that often. I don't feel like I push my hips in that often. I would say more my shoulder. Winning collar sleeve. Okay. Well, there's a couple different uses for it, but I would just say we'll do near side collar sleeve. Okay. I'm going to do it on my left side, which is the opposite side Tommy would be doing it, but it's the same idea. So generally, if I'm on near side collar sleeve like this, my left foot is either a lasso, a De La Hiva hook. That's like near side collar sleeve, right? As I call it, right? These are just names I made up to define it, but really it's just positions. So my left leg in collar sleeve is either a lasso, a De La Hiva hook, a foot on the hip. This usually becomes more like far side collar sleeve. A foot on a hip. If his leg is bent, that can turn into keymaster, which is this kind of like hooked on the thigh foot, right? And then the fifth position would be like leg pass body, like this. And then now if he sucks his elbow tight, he can't really get back in that space. So this opens up for triangles and omoplata. So it's one of those five, okay? The right leg, let's turn to the other side. So if my left leg is lassoed, De La Hiva, foot on hip, keymaster, or leg pass body, okay, 5. My right leg is bicep, knee shield,
foot on hip. And foot on hip is very short-lived because when I go foot on hip, he'll usually push it down and step back, and then I'm going to have to lasso and then come back, okay? So when I'm here, if I have the foot in the bicep, usually I'm trying to check this for like an omoplata or triangle. I'll like kick my hamstring on the knee. If he keeps his elbow and knee tight, I can get a hook in, maybe try to take him backwards, try to take him forwards. But sometimes guys are really good at looping this leg anyway. So loop it. So when he like this, right? So sometimes when I'm here and I can tell he's going to start looping it and it's just really hard to deal with, I'm just going to knee shield my right leg across his torso here. Okay, this makes it really hard for him to push this down. Now I'm going to grab really high on the lapel. I pull, I use my left knee, turn this way a little bit. Okay, I pull, I use my left knee to kind of lift my hip and adjust my hip around here. Now it's really easy to start taking him backwards, or I can off balance him forwards with that good De La Riva hook. From here, I underhook De La Riva, grab the hip. Tommy doesn't do that one so much, that's more Mikey, but it's really good. But that knee shield position is really good for adjusting, okay? As well as if someone wants to stop like a triangle or something, if I'm like, sorry, if I get foot on the hip or something, when I'm like this, it's really hard for him to like, so frame your hand here on my rib cage. Like here, it kind of kills my knee shield. But if I'm like this early, I can break that grip a lot. See, so if he gets this lapel, right, and I use this knee shield, I can break that grip, and it makes it easy to go for that. So it has different purposes in different situations. Tips on getting to the deep De La Riva lace for people with short legs. I guess it's realistically, it's the same tip, whether you're tall or short, which is how to get your leg deep. It's just harder if you're shorter, of course. But you have to get elevation. Okay, so you have to get elevation and on your side. So I can use my foot on the hip, or I can use my shin over the knee line. This is one of my favorites. If I can get this over the knee line here and get lift on this, this really allows you to go deep. You see that, right? So if I'm playing from here and I get a cross sleeve and I can get this knee line here, I can launch there and get a super deep grip and start chasing the back, right? If I have the other sleeve, it's really good too, right? But again, I have to get over that knee line. If the knee line's not open, then I'll either just push off the hip with the right foot, lift and turn over on my shoulder. You see that? There. Now I lace deep, hit here, and now I'm in position. I can start bumping him forward, whatever I want to do here. Okay? But you have to get that lift to lace and turn on your side. Jackson May, your opinion on belt testing. Actually, I answered that question earlier, Jackson. So sorry, I was, if you want to see it, I think this will be posted afterwards so you guys can review it and check it out there. Alex G, observation. The headset microphone setup is awesome and it makes you look like a jet fighter pilot. Thanks, bud. I wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was a kid, actually, but I had bad eyesight, so that didn't happen. Actually, one of the guys who trains at the gym I train at now, Fighter Center, Max is actually a fighter pilot. So he's like the most like manly man ever. He's like a fighter pilot and like, yeah, I hope Max is watching. He's like the ultimate man. Safa Shet, how do I guard recovery when people try to pass my De La Riva? Safa, so it just depends. Hair product recommendations. Okay, I'll give you some in a second. How do I guard recover when people try to pass my De La Riva? It depends on how they're passing. Just like everything, I know that sounds like such a cop-out. Everything is case dependent in Jiu-Jitsu, okay? So if someone leg drags you, or they reverse leg drag you, or they knee cut, or they stack, all of those are options in De La Riva. The defense is going to be different every single time, right? So I think with your question, thanks, Jonathan. What's up, John Minky? Good to see you, dude. Yeah, every pass is going to have a different response, right? So of course that may not be the answer that you're looking for your question, but I think it'll actually drive you to the questions that you should be asking yourself, which are going to ultimately lead to the better progress in Jiu-Jitsu, which is you need to be breaking things down by case specific, right? So if you think about it, if we're in De La Riva, right, and we're here and he's got my ankle, right, like this, okay, and I open the leg and do a knee cut pass here, like this, and I start passing here. There's only so many things he could do in this body position. It would probably be something like he could push and try to lasso, or maybe he could try to dig an underhook and come up to like a half guard thing. That's if I knee cut it from De La Riva, right? But what if we were here, right? Okay, and then I was here and I drug this leg across for a reverse leg drag. Now I'm going to the right side and on a completely different side. His hips are turned away. It's a completely different thing, right? So he would have to do a different thing, right? So understanding that that's going to be different on every scenario is really important to understand, right? So again, it's not the Joe and John are discovering each other. Yeah, understanding that's going to be different depending on the situation is like very pivotal, right? Yeah, I think honestly, like again, like you asked a simple question, but that revelation may be the most important thing you get in jiu-jitsu is understanding that everything is case dependent. You don't want to look for these broad principles that connect everything, like always have your elbow tight, always have posture. For every example, or for every thing someone can say, like always have posture, always have your elbow tight, I can give you a million counter examples, with the exception of maybe like don't get submitted. Okay, that's bad. But you should always be, everything is case dependent. Like if you posture like that in De La Riva, if you just deadlift the whole time, you're going to get ankle locked, right? If you put your head down in collar sleeve, you might get loop choked. If you put your head down in De La Riva, it might help your knee cut pass. Everything is case dependent, and it depends on the partner you're fighting. Maybe you know that your partner only likes to do takedowns, right? So then like bear hugging his legs and putting your head down, he doesn't even know a loop choke. That could strategically work, right? Everything is contextual. So try to think jiu-jitsu more case by case and contextual than broad in general. No problem, buddy. Happy you like it. Man, this is super fun, though. I like answering questions and chilling out. Maybe it's less fun for Anderson just staring at himself on TV, but... Yo. Man, I wish we could... next time I do a live stream, we're going to set up the VR so you guys can watch. We can do some Exorcist virtual reality and watch me get the shit scared out of myself. Cool. Let's see. Thoughts on grabbing your own lapel on top, for example, when doing an arm bar or side control? I mean, it can be useful. Depends again, case by case scenario, but like it has its place in certain spots. Sometimes grabbing it is good. I wouldn't say I do it that much, maybe, but I think arm bars is a good time. I think I do it sometimes when I do an arm bar. Play Onward. Is that a VR game? I haven't tried it. What is Onward? I don't. How to defend shin smash from De La Riva. Are you talking about like the shin slide where they just drop their shin over your shin in De La Riva guard? Cool. This is from, let's see. Medi Meg's Defense. Oh, no. Yeah. Medi Meg's Defense. How to defend the shin slide. All right. This is a good one. I love these specific questions like this. Okay. So we're here, right? So the big thing with the shin slide is if my leg, first off, if the De La Riva hooks in, it's hard for him to shin slide because he can't turn his knee out, right? But if he pushes this hook out and my leg drops here like this, then if you go ahead and drop your knee to the floor, he's going to shin drop and that's going to break my grip. Or if I have a super hard grip, it's at least going to be annoying at minimum. So the big thing I always focus on is keeping my knee heavy. I center my hip and I keep my knee really strong to his knee. When I'm playing De La Riva, realistically, it's like the ankle grip guard, right? I keep my strong knee pressure here. If he drives his knee back into my knee really hard, drive your knee into me, then I get a hook. If he pops his leg straight, now my hook is weak, so I go knee tight. But with this knee tight position, and if I hold the pants, which I like a lot, I draw my elbow in a little bit because it gets a lot of tension on the floor. Now if you try to step your leg back really quick, you see it's super tight, right? Now if he tries to shin slide here, push my leg down to shin slide, it's really hard, right? See, try to turn your foot out to shin slide. See, it's really hard. But when this drops, then he has an angle to turn his foot out. So focus on keeping that knee driven up really hard into the leg. That will make a tremendous difference, right? That's the way jiu-jitsu is. I know like people would really like that I could just tell you like, oh, there's this one simple thing that solves every problem in jiu-jitsu. That's not how it works. Everything is super case dependent. So like that question of like, what do you do in that specific shin slide position? That's an actual useful answer you can utilize, right? John Minky and my brother having a heart-to-heart in the chat. Good option to take an opponent down once you get the arm drag and have their back from standing. Oh my God, I just thought of a story with John I want to tell, but I can't tell it here. Okay, good option to take an opponent down once you get the arm drag and have their back from standing. Yeah, again, a little, I wouldn't say I'm the best at that, but I'll show you a really good option. I'll show you a really good option for once you've gotten to the back while they're standing to take them down. If I get this position where I'm kind of like bear hugging the back, I like to get the lapel high and one lapel low like this with the cross grip, and then taking my leg and putting the hook in, but instead hooking across here. A lot of you guys, if you've seen a lot of content, there's a lot of guys who do this. Back up a little bit. Lepre does this all the time. So from here, I can hook like this and start driving forward. If he posts his right hand on the floor like this here, I can grab the tricep and frame this and keep driving to bring him down and then go there. So that little cross hook is really good. Yes, it does. It involves a takedown at a tournament. You know what story I'm talking about. Oh my God. Yeah, Joe, you know which story I'm talking about, right? Man, these are so fun. It's just like everyone you know is just coming around. How do you finish a no-arm triangle when you catch someone defending the stack pass? Man, I've seen a lot of guys do that. I just haven't invested the effort in getting good at it yet. It looks really cool, but I'm not good at it. But it's like the one where you get like the cross collar grip and like close the legs on the neck. Yeah. It's a good one. Yeah. Let's see here. It was John. It involves you at a judo tournament, like in a epic match versus a blind guy in a judo tournament. And you shooting like a really low double leg takedown. To be fair, you didn't know the guy was blind. Okay, I mean, I could tell this story. I feel like it's like fair to tell. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like okay. So one of my friends was competing in a judo tournament, right? And to his defense, okay, he did not know the guy was blind, and in judo, often like you make grips before you compete, right? So my friend competing, he was really into. He's really good at judo. He's one of the guys who first got me into jiu-jitsu. Was like my mentor when I started, and he was competing, and he was talking a lot about how effective double leg takedowns are in judo. And this was back when you could actually do double legs in judo, and everyone in the tournament knew this guy was like a local seam blind competitor, and he was talking about like the effectiveness of double legs. He didn't know the guy was blind. So when they were competing, stand up, like, yeah, he went to the competition and he was walking around like the guy was trying to make grips, and John started doing this. If you wrestle, like they do this, right? So the guy was here trying to make grips, and then John was doing this and took a shot from about this far away, this low, and shot in on a double leg. So the guy was here and he just cleaned him out from there, took the guy down and choked him out. I think the guy went unconscious and then like started celebrating, and yeah, and then everyone in the auditorium was just horrified, and God, it was terrible. Oh my God. Oh man. Do you have any fun dirty tricks you want to share? Just mean stuff, real filthy. Okay. That's a really weird question. 80 trips to avoid being stacked when inverted going to matrix. I guess it depends on how you're getting stacked. Yeah, I can't say I have anything off the top of my head that like really resonates in that moment. Let's see. Huh? Oh, beast mode. I did get kicked out of a judo tournament. That's right. Oh my God. Man. Yeah, I was worst BJJ experience. Oh man. Let's think. What was the judo tournament story? Man, this was kind of like I shouldn't have done this, but like at the same time, it was kind of like I was young competing, and like I feel like it was fair because the judo guys hate jiu-jitsu guys, but like a guy was competing that I was coaching who did jiu-jitsu and judo, and he kept putting the guy in an arm bar, and like the arm was starting to get extended, and then he was like waiting with the arm bar to get the guy to break it. Yeah, he was waiting for the guy to like tap with the arm bar, and the guy wouldn't tap, and then the referee was like a judo guy, and he hated like Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys, and he was like, mate, and he would stand him up before he could do anything. So I got really frustrated because like the third time he had the guy in an arm bar, and then I just screamed like, break it, right? And then like when I screamed break it, the ref just goes, mate, and then he's like, who said that? And then like all of the crowd parted like the Red Sea, and then it was just me standing there, and like everyone staring at me, and the ref came up, and I was like, I'm at the grip, break the grip, and then they threw me out of the judo tournament. Yeah, they were real jerks. Can concepts be universally applied to all positions? MA library, can concepts be universally applied to all positions? Can you give me an example of a concept that you think might apply to all positions? Oh man, my brother and John could definitely bring up a lot of messed up stories. Yeah, my brother and my buddy John Mickey are in the chat. Let's see here. How do you get your black belt in a year or less? Well, I guess I could throw out some good insults here, but I mean, you could probably like go to some kind of online thing and buy one. But I don't think you can really get to that level that quick. Alignment. Okay. Alignment. So can you give me like that's a very like general term, alignment. Like what is an alignment? Because I can give you multiple examples of where being out of alignment is useful, right? Like for example, alignment. Okay, I mean I don't know. Like alignment is like that's like saying like force, right? It's very broad, right? But let's take. I'll give you a counter example where alignment is not good. Go down. So if I'm doing a knee cut pass, okay, often one of the big things if I get in is I'm going this way with my lower body. My upper body needs to alternate the opposite direction going out of alignment, right? So my knee is cutting to the floor. My upper body is rotated this way. If I'm in alignment here, it's easier for him to push me this way and lasso. So by going out of alignment and leaning my upper body this way, pinning him, and my lower body going the other direction, it makes the pass much stronger. So in that case, I violated the idea of alignment in that it was not good. Okay. Alignment is base, posture, and structure. Okay. Base, posture, and structure, right? So base. When is base not good? Will you consider releasing a guard passing video? Yeah, absolutely. I really want to do a guard passing instructional soon. Okay. So base, posture, and structure. Okay, so let's think about it this way. If you're in the reverse De La Worm guard, right? I'll show it in a second. Thinking about the idea of base, posture, and structure, how, like, will that give you a roadmap on what to do next? Like how, like when you think about it, right? Of course, base is a thing. Like I think at one point I heard the idea that like all sweeps are based off of like an action and a reaction, or like two opposing forces, but like all movement are based off two opposing forces, right? Like all movement in physics are based off of two opposing forces. So I guess in what sense would base, posture, what was it? What made up alignment was base, posture, and what structure? Right? Like how, like if I'm in a new position, right? Like let's say I'm in, you know how to put me in reverse De La Worm? Yeah, just put me in reverse De La Worm. Okay. Yep, there we go. Okay, so I'm in the reverse De La Worm guard now, right? So this, imagine I'm fighting and like I don't know what to do. Like base, posture, and alignment. There's a lot of ways to base. I could base like this. I could base like this. I could be in alignment, right? But like what I need to do here, again, there's different models, is I need to trap this leg. But base, posture, and alignment doesn't necessarily help me here, right? Like, and I mean, when I trap this, because I'm in reverse De La Worm, I know that this hand is down here, so this cross face is often open. If he was grabbing with this hand, which would make it ringworm, Now I can't crossface because he can frame with this arm, right? So if he goes here and grabs this, go ahead and grab this, right? Now I go here and actually want my head really low, so I don't have posture. If I postured up here, he could frame my neck away and get away, right? But here I want my head super low and no posture like this, right? Now, if he was doing ringworm, go to ringworm, the left hand, right? Now that same kind of club pass and crossface does not work because of the nature of the position. All right. Yeah, so once I'm in ringworm, that same kind of crossface pressure isn't going to work, right? So in this sense, now I would have to open him up, go for an underhook, and I need really strong posture here, an extension to break this grip. That's a different case, right? So by trying to force this structural overview of everything that like everything is connected, it just makes it like, I think it just does more damage than help because you're trying to force these things into things that aren't there. Okay, David Stigserson says alignment. They are probably referencing Rob Bernanke. He's talking about relative alignment, Ichi, and your base such that it provides a platform generating absorbing force aligned with objective. Okay, well, what about this though? What if the best position to position yourself for base gets you ankle locked? Okay, so go, you know the cow terror ankle lock? Okay, so stand up. Okay, so if we're here, right, like this, if he was to put his knee into me, I would say he's less balanced. If he keeps his legs straight and wide and posture up, right? Here he's really balanced, right? But I create a buckle on his knee that can ankle lock him, right? Or if I'm in an omoplata here like this, right? Well, if he's worried about getting omoplated here and he postures really hard, now he's postured, right? Posture base to balance. Boom, he's getting hit with the matrix. Okay? Like the posture base and balance does nothing to account for the fact that someone is trying to take your back. Like, why is that? Like, that doesn't, balance is useful for not falling over. It's not useful for not getting your back taken or getting yourself choked. Balance doesn't account for the fact that someone could loop choke you, right? You could be perfectly balanced and someone could choke you unconscious with a lapel hanging around your neck. So I don't think those principles will act as a useful guide for people because there's too many variables. If the pure goal was to not fall over, then maybe base or always being in balance would be useful. But it could be that the most balanced position gets you loop choked. Yeah, I think exactly my point, David. Basically, relative alignment based posture and structure is quite well defined by Rob, but doesn't make sense without discussing definitions and examples. Right, but I think the difficulty is that it's always going to be a case-by-case scenario. There's certain times where the most postured position in a position is going to cause you massive problems, right? It's going to get you ankle locked. And there's certain times that the most postured way is the best way to be, right? So it's like, and usually you don't know until you do extensive, rigorous assessment of that position. So the only way I know that posturing out of an omoplata gets you matrix is because I've studied that position extensively and I know all the possible combinations. So I feel like in that sense, like it's easier to just learn the positions and what you should do, like generally in the position by just spending a lot of time in the position. Yeah. But I mean, like that being said, understanding balance in general is probably good. Like if you understand, okay, balance, if I'm out of balance here, I'm out of balance there, that for sure, like you can understand that. And like some of that is intuitive, some of it maybe is understandable. But as long as you understand that being in balance is not always what you want, sometimes not being in balance is what is needed. But I understand the concept. Yeah, studying position needs to go in pair with studying general concepts. Thanks for explanation. No problem. Being more clear, any tips on avoiding being stacked going to matrix when you already are inverted with your ankle in the crook of the knee and they pull your pants and put weight over your face? Man, Tia, that's really hard to visualize. It's very, very specific. If you want, you can message me on Instagram, and if you can send me a video of that exact thing happening, I'll answer it for you. But like some questions, like textually, are so hard to visualize. So if you can, feel free to send me a message, and I'll definitely get back to you on it if you can send it to me. Let's see here. Basically, okay. Best way to use a virtual private lesson in this as the student, in your opinion. Alex G, do you have a partner that you can spar with when you're doing the virtual private? Okay. What I think is best is spreading it out over a duration of time. Like for me, I do online privates, and I don't do them real time. Like I don't like have the person there and then we're doing a Skype call. What I do is like the person pays for a month of private lessons with me, and then we do a 20-minute phone call once a week. I send them initial video overviewing the position or whatever we're working on. They send me video back of them sparring, and then we have a live phone call for 20 minutes discussing what's going on in the role, and I send them follow-up techniques and videos that are solutions to the problems they're having, as well as having conversation once a week. I think that format of you sparring and then us having a conversation about it and dragging it out over the course of a month is way better than a compressed hour, because it gives you time to adapt, right? Because every time you evolve a little bit and you can make adjustments, as opposed to if we just do 1 hour live, then when you go spar the next day, all these problems pop up. You can't readdress that. So having it drawn out over time, I think benefits you more. Can you show a position where you could dive for a Kimura? Sure. I think I'm not big on diving for Kimuras, but we had a guy at my gym in Atlanta, Ryan Haggerty, who is like killer at this. He like caught everyone with it. Go down. So he would be on top in De La Hiva, like this, right? And so when we're here, and again, this is the really cool stuff. When you know positions well, you can understand patterns of what someone's going to do next, and it's really easy to predict it. And that's how you get a jump ahead on someone. You can do really cool timing things, right? So one common thing when you're in De La Hiva is someone's going to try to grab your sleeve, right? When I'm going like this. So what he would do is he would go here, right? And he would be doing this. So as you grab my sleeve like this, he would re-grab their sleeve, pull it up, and then I'm going to probably lose the headphones when I do this. He would pull it up like this, and then he would lunge over like this here to drop for the Kimura here, right? I think it's so effective because A, he knew that sequence so well, people go for it all the time. And B, when you hit it, if you're a person on bottom playing the guard, the last thing you're expecting is someone to die for a Kimura on you like that, right? And when you hit it, oh my God, and he's like super strong and really good at the finish of that position. So he would dive for it. I think it's a really tricky one if you can pull it off. How do I adjust the hair? No problem, MM. Let's see here. Started studying individual athletes and trying to systematically break down their game. Yeah, I think that's a good way to go. You know, I think, again, like I talked about before, maybe you weren't here, Pyro Baseman, is like try to break down their game and spend time studying, and then mix in like kind of more general training or studying other people with it, so you don't get too stuck in one thing, because sometimes when you get really rigid and stuck in, it's hard to break out of that loop. Would he use Kimura to pass or finish from half? Oh, he would finish it a lot. Ryan Haggerty, yeah, he would finish the Kimura like a lot. I mean, sometimes I guess he would use it to pass, but man, he's so good at that. Even if you got his back, a lot of times he could just like do that kind of like Sakuraba style Kimura thing where he just makes it like a straight arm bar and finish you. I don't know if he has an Instagram, but you guys can message him and ask. What are your cues to move from upper body to lower body guards? I guess there's a lot of reasons for why you might do it, right? So one is what's available, right? So if I want to get a grip on my opponent, stand up. If I want to get a grip on my opponent, and like I have no grips and he's being like very, like threatening and stuff, right? I can take what's available. So if his hands are back and this is here, I could grab this and make this as my first contact. Now I have a control, right? And then if he grabs this, maybe I feel better in collar sleeve, so I get this sleeve, I break it, I go foot and bicep, now I'm playing collar sleeve. But I made that switch because I like collar sleeve, so I chose to switch to it, right? So I'm changing to it because it's what I feel better in, right? But let's say I don't know collar sleeve, then this is available, then I grab here and I play this, right? Or maybe I'm not that good at like sleeve control, but stand back and keep your hands forward. I'm not that good at sleeve control, but his legs are away. So I get this grip, I break it, I go here, I'm like, oh man, I'm not really comfortable. I get a collar, I threaten an omoplata, he gets his elbow and knee tight. I switch to the ankle, and now I'm playing collar ankle because I feel better at it. So there is no correct reason in everything in jiu-jitsu. It just depends on the skills that you have. So again, that always goes back to the same thing, which is focus on developing individual skill sets that you have, and then you'll make decisions based off of things. Like you might fight someone in a tournament and that person happens to be really good at killing your best position, right? Because their main training partner is really good at it. So then you play your second best position, but they're not good at fighting that. So there's never like a universal right thing to do. You have all these different skills and tools in your arsenal, and you choose what to use at which time, if that makes sense. Let's see. So you aren't reacting to their past styles as much as trying to get to your favorite spots. Yeah, it's like, what camera are you using? Wow, your guys' faces look so natural. Thanks, bud. It's the Brio 4K. I don't even think we put on the touch up. There's like a touch up section where we can beautify ourselves. Okay, a good question though. What was it? It was so you aren't reacting to their past styles as much as trying to get to your favorite spots. Yeah, it's let me think. So again, macro, micro, strategy and tactics. It depends on what my purpose is. Like let's say I'm really out of shape for the tournament, or I had a flu before the tournament and I just recovered. My cardio is crap. Okay. And the match just started. Probably I'm going to look to tie the guy up in the position I feel like I could stall the best in to catch my breath and relax. And I look for like a submission, like a really easy submission so I don't have to get into it. Right. But then maybe the next match, I know the guy, is really good at passing the De La Riva guard, but I have a good spider guard too. So then like I get out of De La Riva and switch to spider guard as quick as I can because I know he's good at passing that. You see what I mean? So there is no every time this is what you should do. It's always just dependent on what you want to do in that match in the situation. If you try to run the same thing every time, like it makes jiu-jitsu less fun because you're so always trying to do the same thing. It's way more fun when you can kind of mix it up. So if I'm rolling with Anderson, there's so many ways I could roll with him. I could go, okay, I'm going to play guard, and I'm going to just try to submit him, and I'm going to try to defend from my guard and submit him. Or I could roll with him and say, okay, I don't want to ever let my heart rate go above 130 beats per minute. So I want to use no energy and win the match. Or I could say I want to tap him out in 30 seconds because there's 30 seconds left in the match and I'm down by 2. How I would respond in each of those situations is different. So work on your individual skill sets with specific training and micro training. And then when you do regular rolls, you'll have all these tools in your arsenal to fit the situation. How you're going to fight when there's 2 minutes left and you're down 2 is going to be different than how you fight when there's 30 seconds left and you're up by 5, right? It's always different. I hope that helps, Pyro. Magnus Eriksson asked, what is your general goal for top of side control after a pass? I actually focus a lot on creating discomfort, because the idea of the positions in jiu-jitsu, the reason you get awarded points for passing and mount is that they are effective for a real fight, right? If I get mount, you can punch the guy. That's why you get 4 points, right? So if someone wants to do like this and ball up, it's hard to force a submission sometimes because they're so defensive. You can't find it. So then by like punching a bunch and things like that, you force them to open up. That's what the points are for. It's to make them like feel pressure. But if you're in the gym, the guy doesn't care about points. You don't have that, so you need to make him uncomfortable. So in that sense, I like strong cross face pressure or strong knee on belly pressure. So when I get side, I focus a lot. Good. Okay, so when I get side, I focus a lot on like strong knee on belly pressure. So I like to get the lapel, the hand on the hip. I pop up to knee on belly here. I like to get this sleeve if I can, and I go cross collar, and I get my knee on their floating rib, and I just keep creating a lot of discomfort. So they overreact to give me an arm bar. They go here, and I can pull this into an arm bar. But otherwise, if I have time, I catch my breath and chill. But eventually, I like to really focus on creating discomfort with a strong crossface or a strong knee on belly. Yeah, that's not a fun one, right? Just make sure the Nick from the summit didn't message me or something. That's good.
Are training concepts like drilling, general, garb retention more valuable than training a specific movement? Yeah, I think like it depends on what you mean by drilling, John. Like specific sparring or well, I think definitely for like brand new beginners, sometimes like just doing basic motor control things, like learning to actually move your hip and those kind of drills are good. But I think like doing guard retention where you tell the person, okay, start with no grips, you're on your back, you can't play any guard, you just have to defend the pass. That's super useful, right? And then like if they start as someone keeps passing them, because each opponent they have is going to pose a different problem. It's not like if they go with a white belt one time and like they do good versus him, the next white belt might pass completely differently or with an alternate like lead or something, right? So what I would do is have the guy keep trying to pass, and then as a pattern evolves, like man, they're getting passed every time with the same sequence. Then I would go, okay, let's go again, slow motion. Let the guy try to pass. Okay, stop. Here you should be doing this and show them the adjustment to fix it. Then they go again. Right. And then I show them the adjustment and then they start sparring again. And then as they get better at it, the opponent goes back up to max resistance until they can defend it. And then we try another pattern. Right. And then you keep changing the partners until they eventually have a defense for all the possible combinations. But I think like doing that kind of positional focus, like guard retention, as opposed to an individual pass. But I think like I like that format of like we're rolling and then being able to stop, freeze, slow motion, make adjustment, and then go back to rolling. That's really useful. Okay, how do you deal with an opponent deadlifting when you're playing collar sleeve with a shallow lasso? Good question. Very specific, very easy to answer.
So if I'm in collar sleeve, like this, right, and I have the shallow lasso collar sleeve and he deadlifts, go ahead and deadlift, punch her up. One thing I do is if I want to turn that way a little bit. Yeah, there we go. One thing I do is if I want to stop the guy from posturing collar sleeve, oddly enough, grabbing lower on the lapel. If I go up here and he's strong enough to posture, it's really hard on my hand and lifts me up off the mat. And also notice, go ahead and posture up again slowly. When I'm here, it's hard for me to shoot my hips up because my upper back is off the mat. But look, if he postures again, posture, watch. See, I lower my grip on the lapel. See, now posture really hard. See, that actually breaks his posture and makes it easy to pull up for the triangle or omoplata. So actually lowering your lapel keeps your arm closer to you and makes it easier to posture. So posture up, posture. See, I can pull there. However, if I don't want to deal with that, you could lower the lapel. So the big thing is he postures, let him posture, lower it, and then grab here. And now you can start pulling your way up on the triangle or the omoplata. Or if you go ahead and posture again, he goes here. I could switch to a cross sleeve, shoot my leg across, deep lace, and start attacking the back here, or go to De La Riva X. I could bump forward here like this. This could turn into like vice guard. Start going there. A lot of things like that.
Dad, Steve, John's dad, who also is one of the most important, probably the most important person in my guard retention career. Because the guy in the chat here, John, his dad, Steve Minke, was one of the first guys I met doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in St. Louis. He showed me this detail, stand up, that I still think is single-handedly responsible for my Jiu-Jitsu career, is when someone is passing your guard, if they're passing, let's say you go this way, if he passes to this side, most people have, you guys have probably, if you watch my content, you've probably seen this, they try to use their inside leg to recompose. He said, always use your outside leg, go over, throw the leg over to recompose your hip. He goes this way, throw the outside leg over to recompose the hip so that your inside leg is protected. He showed me that detail. That right there instantly changed my like retention overnight, and then I just feel like my game leveled up, and from that moment, like I just started winning everything. It was like that was like the key, right? So that like throwing that over. Anyway, that was John, your dad. Yeah, I think utilizing slow tempo rolls, right? That is probably the biggest breakthrough in my game. I think I've done this for a while. I just wasn't self-aware of it. Slow tempo rolls. So let's say I'm going to try to pass Anderson's guard. Okay, so you go down and I'm trying to help Anderson, or like I'm coaching and there's someone else trying to pass. So I would go, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to go, okay, I'm going to try to pass your guard, and then we're going to kind of go at a slow pace. So I'm still resisting. I'm still doing what I would actually do in a sparring match. It's just at a slower pace. That's all, right? So go ahead, go. Even slower, even slower. No grip fighting, just defending. Go. Go again. Even slower. Go ahead. Right, freeze right there. So right here, you're framing this leg when my upper body's coming at you. So you're missing the wrong frame. You actually want this frame to catch here. This should go on the side of your hip to prevent your hip from turning. Okay. So by like there, because we're going at a slow pace, I can actually identify the problem. Yeah, tell them I said, hey man, I miss you guys a lot. Like going at that slow pace will actually allow the issue to pop up. Now, sometimes when you're going slow, it's hard to identify what's going on. So sometimes doing a couple, I don't want to do it with the headset on, but sometimes doing a couple like really hard quick rounds will make a pattern pop up, right? And like, so maybe you do 4 like hard quick rounds really quick. And then it's like, man, like this pattern keeps happening. And then you identify this happened a couple times over 10 rounds. Then you go, okay, hey, there's something happening here. Can we go there again? Go slow motion. And then you identify the problem. Once you identify the problem, then we go, okay, change this behavior. Instead of going here, go on the shoulder. Let's do it slow motion again until you adjust the response. Now he understands. Then you run again a couple hard sequences and see if the problem pops up again. And then if it's fixed that time, then you actually patch that pattern. And you just keep repeating that process until you patch all the patterns. Does that make sense? Like, I think that's slow tempo. I use that for myself all the time. I'll be in collar sleeve, something happens. I'm like, whoa, freeze. What's going on here? Adjust, come up with a solution, try again, try again. You got to have that conversation to make adjustments. If it's just sparring, it's really hard to fix. That has made so much of an improvement in my game in the last like 2 to 3 months. Cool. All right, guys, let's do 1 or 2 more questions, and I think we're going to have a board game night with some friends here. My video and audio is out of sync. Is that just me? Well, I have no idea. Could be me, considering my luck with the PC recently. So I'm a pretty big guy. And when I train, okay, yes it is. So my audio is all right, guys. Well, I don't know how to fix the audio, so we'll grit through the last few minutes, and then hopefully it's better next time. So I'm a pretty big guy, and when I train in my gym, I usually can't use full strength, but in tournaments, I'm matched against other very big guys, and many of my techniques won't work. What do I do? Okay. So this is Tobias Geller. Is there? So let's suppose, I don't know the situation, but let's suppose that you're 100 kilos, you're like 220 pounds, and everyone else in your gym is like 155 pounds. So none of them are representing what you would actually be experiencing in a tournament. That may not be your case, but hypothetically. What I would do if literally no one at your gym was big enough to roll with you, you need like to try to find another gym or an open mat that you can go to, even if it's just once or twice a month, so that you can test yourself versus people that are big and strong and tough, and use those rounds not to necessarily get better, but just go really hard. And after that training day where you roll with a lot of big guys and stuff, let's say it's just a tournament because you can't find anyone. I think you probably could if you really put the effort in, but let's just say you couldn't. Okay, then take a lot of notes over what's going on and really pay attention to the patterns that are happening that are giving you a hard time. And then you need to have the smaller guys, when you go back, try to mirror that position exactly as it happened and try to understand what you could do better. Obviously, that's like less than optimal. You would like to have a big guy, a training partner every day you could do that with, but if you don't have it, you don't have it. So you have to make the best of the situation. A lot of times, like when I trained, like I would have things I wanted to work on, and there was no one to train with. So like I would just call every friend I have until I find someone who doesn't even train. I would show them the position and then show them to mirror what I need them to do it. So you have to think outside the box and be very proactive. Can you do one quick question regarding the match between Mikey and Ali Muhammad? Yeah, try it. I mean, it depends on the position. I may not know the position well that he was playing, but you can ask. No problem, John. Let's take a phone call soon, buddy. Ali passed to the side and had Mikey pinned. Somehow Mikey recovered guard when there was no space. It happened at 120 into the match. Okay, I don't know how to screen share. I'm just going to bring it up real quick. 120 in the Mikey match. Mikey, Ali. I think this is what he's talking about. I don't want to be away from the live stream too long. Ollie pass aside and have Mikey pin somehow. Mikey recover Garb where there was no space. Well, there was no space for you. There was space for Mikey. I mean, it was excellent Garb retention, but it's kind of one of those things where I feel like the position got so far that was like, it's like Tommy Langaker, or like I'm like that a bit in general too. I feel like there was a lot of extra flexibility that Mikey had that allowed him to get out of that. I don't think necessarily most people would be able to do that. He was like kind of like almost Toriando'd here. So being like basically side control here, like could have both knees on the floor. He was like here and he had this knee in just enough. And this foot was able to, he was able to press here and thread this foot back in here. Okay. Now I'm really flexible, but even for me, that was kind of hard to get in. Here I might try to lasso or I try to push here and get this into here, right? But I think that was like, it's the basic principle I talked about before about getting your outside leg on something. It's just that like where he got his outside leg in was just really unbelievable, right? But it was excellent guard retention. Does shadow rolling work? Yeah, I think it does. I think shadow rolling is more useful, not so much for developing new techniques, but for keeping what you have. Because like if you've never been in worm guard before, it's hard to visualize being in worm guard. But if there's positions you use all the time, you can certainly visualize being in those. And doing that 2 or 3 times a week, visualizing being in the positions you already play and doing that visualization can certainly keep it fresh. So I think doing 2 or 3 times a week where you just shadow grapple for like 20 minutes and review the positions you play will actually do a lot during this time period to keep things in your head. But of course, really take your strength and flexibility seriously during this time. I think those are the best things you can do. But shadow grappling for sure. I think that's a really good one to do. Okay, guys. Thanks a lot for joining in, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to try to do another one soon. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the summit, and we're going to have a good night. So thanks a lot, guys. Oos. Thank you.